Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's Sports Week here on STV. The main talking points on tonight's extended programme. Motherwell will make a move for Michael O'Halloran. Emerson Hyndman talks about the difference between Bournemouth and Rangers. And Brendan Rodgers says Celtic's preparations for Albion Rovers will be exactly the same as Barcelona. That's just a few of the points we will be discussing on this Scottish Cup weekend in the company of Alan Rough, and as ever on a Friday night, our bookroom guest from the Daily Mail is Hugh McDonald. Delighted to have Hugh with us as well. So, Scottish Cup, always special, maybe not as special for yourself, Ruffy, as you've emphasised to us since you've come back, but nevertheless, other people have glamour attached to it. There's lots of little stories that we'll discuss that have been emerging in the papers, first of all. Of course, Motherwell fancy Michael O'Halloran on a loan move. A number of clubs have been interested in him. What do you make of that, Ruffy?
Quite rightly, the boy's got pace, and when he was up at St Johnstone, he caused all the team's problems. That's obviously why Rangers went for him. But the Motherwell style of play, it's always been that, a good winger to supply balls into the box for strikers who like to be on the end of it, and that's what Motherwell have got, you know, with McDonald there, and I think he'd be a great acquisition. But I mean, the boy's got to say to himself, well, am I going to get games at Rangers? Do I hang about until, you know, or do I make my mind up now? It's not going to happen for me this year, so I go out and get game time and then come back. So it's a decision he's got to make, but it's up to the manager to decide whether he is part of the squad.
Yeah, I've been listening to a number of fans, across whether it's social media, radio shows, you name it, Hugh. Some slaughtering him, saying he's not a Rangers player, he's not Rangers class. He's only had 18 first team starts. The bottom line is that the manager either fancies him or he doesn't. If there was a situation where, there's no point in talking about all the scurrilous rumours that are going about, it's down to the manager. Sometimes what you find out later is he can't play a certain amount of games without another payment being made and things like that. But at the end of the day, the manager is quite simply saying, he's part of the squad.
And the manager obviously fancied him in the first place because it's the same manager that brought him to there. He was one of these guys who was brought, I thought, in the old-fashioned way where with Celtic and Rangers and big clubs, if you play well against them, you get a sign, and he played really well against them.
I remember Rangers buying Ian McCall. He was at Dunfermline for his first season, and he was magnificent. So Graham Souness bought him.
Yep, and I think O'Halloran's got a place in any team, because I think in modern football, when you're that quick, it gives you a fantastic option. And many a times I've been thinking, when I've watched quite a lot of Rangers this year, I think even with Barry Mackay, who's obviously, a technically very gifted player, they do like pace going forward. They like searing pace going forward, and sometimes their build-up can be a wee bit more deliberate. I think it would be a smashing move for Mark McGee for the very reasons that Ruffy's talked about. O'Halloran's knitted for Motherwell, absolutely knitted for them. Just precisely what we need. Somebody to go quick into the box for McDonald and Moult.
Yeah, here's the Rangers manager Mark Warburton's take on all the speculation.
He was one of our players. I've read some bizarre stories that he's off to Hearts. I'm sure Ian would have called me if he knew nothing about it. I'm sure not do I. So it's just one of the many stories. Players were linked with players that are going out. As I say, in a window, you're never sure what happens. Till the window closes, you're never sure. But from our point of view, Michael's one of our players, and he'll be involved on Saturday.
Okay, so he's there, he has to get on with it, he's in the squad. Whether he plays or not is another matter, Ruffy. This is the match for me that I think is the early kick-off. It's just unthinkable for Rangers to lose. Kenny Miller and a number of other experienced players are coming out and saying it's all about what we do in this one, that there's a real chance of silverware.
Yeah, they've got to keep the fans on board. Yeah, there was a reasonable performance against Celtic, but at the end of the day, Celtic were still ahead of them, so a cup run would keep everybody on board. Obviously, we spoke about targets before the beginning of the season, and Mark Warburton came out and said, well, I don't want to say what they are, but he is coming out now and saying Europe is on our list, and I would think a Scottish Cup run would be on the list as well. It's okay early on, you say, well, it's not a priority, but the further you go in this Cup and the more the supporters get on board with it, that is something that I think Rangers would want to win.
Yeah, well, two of the new signings could possibly feature at some point. Emerson Hyndman is one man that Rangers have on loan from Bournemouth, and the young man gave his opinion on the difference between playing for a Premier League club in England and a club the size of Rangers.
Yeah, it's a bit different. Me being at Bournemouth anyway, it's a bit different. Bournemouth originally was kind of a smaller club, kind of made its way up, and so globally it's not quite there, but in terms of the support, it's always been great. Whereas Rangers are obviously a global brand, and everyone kind of knows them wherever you go, and so yeah, it's been a bit different in that way, but at the same time, it's really exciting to me.
I think the pressure on these two guys to actually come in and make a real impact over a short period of time is crucial to Rangers.
Absolutely crucial to them, and the Scottish Cup is for Rangers as important as any other team in Scotland. In fact, probably more important than any other team, because not only do they have to keep the fans energised to the end of the season, lagging so many points behind, but financially as well, it'll give them a regular sort of income as well. So it's a hugely important day tomorrow for Rangers, and these two guys. I wonder if I just wonder about how central they'll be to Warburton's plans over the next 6 months. You think going to be difficult to get them in. That'll start pretty soon, but we shall see.
Yep, we shall indeed. Rangers Motherwell, the early kick-off. Another match that has a bit of glamour about it is Albion Rovers against Celtic at Airdrie's Shivery Excelsior Stadium. Of course, ahead of this one, Brendan Rodgers has been talking about some players that could be going out and some that are definitely staying. He's quite adamant that Gary Mackay-Steven is part of his plans. But what about Chris Commons?
Chris has been back in training with us, yeah. There's nothing new to report on Chris. He went out. Looks like he's done very well there for Neil and for Hibs. I believe that Hibs would like to keep him. But of course, Chris has to have a think, because it's not just about the next 6 months, it's about the next few years for him. So everything has to be right for him from a playing perspective. So until anything changes, he's obviously back here to work, and then we'll see what happens between now and the end of the window.
I think in the next couple of months or years, Hugh, if there's a story going to be told by Joey Barton when the confidentiality clause apparently comes off, then there's definitely one for Chris Commons. I cannot believe a man who was Player of the Year. The fall from grace was dramatic. It was so quick. Now, it could be down to the manager doesn't think he's fit enough for his type of play. Could be as basic as that, but I think he'll go back to Hibs.
Do you? I think it'll all be about the money. I think it'll run to almost the last knock-ins of the transfer window. Because Celtic obviously want rid. Chris obviously wants to play football, but the gulf, I would imagine, in what Hibs can offer wage-wise, and Celtic would have to make a massive contribution, I believe, to that. So I think if there's no other options, he'll end up at Hibs, because there is no chance of him playing. He's in the Arctic, never mind out in the cold. There's no chance of him playing for Celtic.
Yep, of course, Brendan Rodgers has brought in Eboué as one of his January signings. Is there more on the way? Here's what the Celtic manager said on possible new additions.
Well, it is and it isn't. I think ideally, if you can it's not about getting players, it's about getting the right players. And if you can get the right players in, then good. If you can't, I won't stockpile the squad full of players that, just for the sake of it. If you don't get the right ones, of course, they come in a little bit later in the summer. But it's okay. Colo Touré came in late on last year, done a great job for us. Really helped to get us through. Scott Sinclair come in late and done a great job for us. Got us through. So yeah, if the right ones are available, then we'll do it.
So Brendan Rodgers mentioned also in the back page headlines today, Ruffy, that he'll prepare the Celtic side the same way he would prepare for Barcelona when they take on Albion Rovers. You can understand, because everybody else is talking about a treble, although he's adamant that nobody discusses it at Celtic.
No, I think the fans will be talking about it every year. You know, we all talk about how difficult it is to win that treble. We've talked about the managers who have won that treble, and he would want his name on that. You know, I think he's done everything right since he came. You know, and a treble would just nail it. Obviously, he's not going to change everything for the Albion Rovers game, but I think it would be interesting to see the side that he puts out. He's already given the young boy Fraser a chance. They might think there'll be other youngsters will be given that chance as well. But you know, I think like Rangers, at the end of the day, supporters demand cups. It's okay when you talk about it in the early stages. It's not as exciting, but when you get near the final, you want to win it.
Okay, Albion Rovers against Celtic. We'll hear from Albion Rovers manager Darren Young after the break. Going into the break, I wonder if you can tell me the year that Celtic, under any manager, last won a treble. Get your thinking caps on. I'll ask these two as well right after this break. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Sports Week. Just before the break, we were talking about Celtic and their pursuit of a treble. Do you remember the last Celtic team and the manager and the year that they won the treble?
Martin O'Neill's first year, which would be, was it 2003? His first year?
2000, 2001.
Was it 2001? I knew it was his first year because it was an interesting narrative, especially when, given that everybody's talking about huge gaps now. When O'Neill came in, the general line in the press was Celtic are 5 years behind Rangers.
Yes.
They were about 17 minutes behind them after the first Old Firm game of the season. Celtic were 3-0 up after about 20 minutes, and that was it.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, now it just gives you an indication of, under Brendan Rodgers, the task that's facing Albion Rovers. The one great thing about this tie, Ruffy, is the fact that the financial rewards for Albion Rovers will just give them a bit of stability over a period of time, you know, maybe the next season.
Yeah, and that's what the board will be looking at. I'm sure they'll be rubbing their hands. The players will enjoy the day out, and the board will look at the money that's coming in. And we talk about Albion Rovers on the ground and how much it needs to be upgraded. And these are the kind of things you would like to think that they would do, you know, and also try and bring some 2 or 3 players in as well. But it'll be a great day for them. Let's not forget, I think Albion Rovers went to Rangers and were into injury time and they lost a late goal that the referee should have given a foul on the goalkeeper. So they'll go along there with expectations, but you just can't see it.
Yeah, and the press coverage around Albion Rovers has been superb. We had Darren Young in the studio, but of course we were out there at the press day, and he's well aware of the task facing his side.
I think that the fact that no other team in Scottish football have managed to beat Celtic this season, and I think maybe there's one team that have managed to draw with them, so I think that kind of says it all. But no, it's great. We'll go out, we'll enjoy the day, enjoy the occasion. We'll have a game plan there ready to go, and hopefully we can a few lucky breaks and then maybe get a wee result out of it.
Yep, I think if Albion Rovers to get a draw, Hugh, the boys wouldn't be back training until next Thursday. I mean,
might just make the replay.
there'll be an APB out for the chairman.
That's right. Won't there be a big bag marked swag? I think. I mean, it's obvious that Celtic will be long odds on favourites to win. But I mean, football is such a game. The surprises can happen. And I was talking the other week there, you know, it's 50 years almost to the date since the anniversary of Berwick Rangers beating Rangers. And Rangers were a team that went on that year to reach the final of the European Cup Winners' Cup. Yeah. So things can happen, but I don't expect them to happen to the Shivery tomorrow, no.
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't, I just cannot see any shock in that one. I'm not going to pick that one as a shock, and I don't want to stick my neck out just in case it goes viral on it, but I can't see a shock on that one. But I think they should enjoy their day. So we've got Rangers Motherwell. We've discussed Albion Rovers. There are some other great games out there, and one of them I think is Formerton against your old team, Partick Thistle.
Yeah, and that is one of the games that the Thistle boys will have to be up for. You know, they've been away for a week there. They'll have come back. You know, they were on a good wee run before they went away, but I think it's how they start this game. You know, first 15-20 minutes, if they dominate the game and get a goal early on, it could make it easier for them. If they don't, the Highland National League team is very, very well organised, and they have got some experienced players playing for them. So I think it's all about setting out your stall and getting the fans on board.
Yep, well, let's get a little insight into Formerton United ahead of their journey to Firhill.
Mark the park, Ben. You've got plenty of space to set up. Alright, go to the ones apart. Open it up.
Formartine United boss Chris Hunter hammering home the master plan he hopes can plot their path to the biggest result in their near 70-year history. The Highland League side may be 4 divisions below Premiership Partick, but having already claimed an SPFL scalp in the competition, they're eyeing another cup surprise.
The previous round, nobody gave us a chance against Annan, and we showed how good a team we are, and we beat them, convincingly in the end. So we've got to go down to Partick with confidence. We know that will be difficult. We know that nobody rates our chances, and it'll be very difficult to get a result. But at the end of the day, it's 11 against 11, and there's always cup shocks.
They've got a very good squad of players, ex-pros that know this league. So we know we've prepared really well. It's not any different from playing a Celtic or an Aberdeen for us.
The phrase Firhill for thrills is associated with the home of Partick Thistle. Formartine are hoping that becomes Firhill for cup shocks this weekend.
Yes, in here!
Derek Young's a former Partick player. He's now in the red and white of Formartine. After a career at the top level, his know-how and that of his teammate, former Ross County and Motherwell midfielder Paul Lawson, will be crucial.
A lot of the boys here haven't witnessed that sort of level of football, and it'll be good for them. Just hope that they don't get a bit too excited at the start of the game and waste a lot of energy chasing bodies left, right and centre. But I think that's probably up to me and Paul and a few others in the team that have got a bit of experience to calm everybody down.
At the end of the day, you enjoy it, but you only enjoy it if you win or put a good performance in. So that's the biggest thing, and we want to give a good account of ourselves and enjoy it, but play well, and you never know what can happen.
We've had Paul Lawson on the programme on more than a few occasions, Ruffy. He's just one of those players that I think, had it not been for injuries, should have been playing at a higher level.
Yeah, great skill, and I'm sure they'll be relying on him a lot tomorrow. Get on the ball. He's very comfortable, and he could bring other players into the game. But I think they're going to have a torrid time tomorrow. I think Partick Thistle are on a wee run just now. Doolan's starting to score again. Lawless is back again, and I think it'll be a tough one for them.
I agree. That was a game I was going to go to tomorrow, but I've been pulled off from the bench to come in here tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to that. But that would have been the game I'd have gone and watched, because I agree with Thistle are really improving all the time, getting more fluid. At one point in the season, this might have been a more difficult occasion for them, but I think I'll expect them to win comfortably.
Yeah, don't worry about being hauled off the bench. You're joining a team you're going to have a lot of fun, by the way, because you won't be the dominant force. Whatever you say, Gordon Smith will have thought of it first.
Yeah. No, I just want playing time. That's all. I just want playing time, so I'm quite happy to come on just for a bit of playing time.
It might be an idea for me to write you into the script then, because it's a hard shift for 4 hours on the Saturday programme. But we're absolutely delighted that you've joined us for that. Other less and smaller and lesser known stations have been vying for your services, but we offered the less amount of money, the least amount of money, I beg your pardon, and we've got you, so we're delighted, Ruffy. Yeah,
we're all, and certainly we'll just haul you off the bench. That's the way we work it.
That's exactly it. Okay, join us if you can. It's a long-winded way of saying we're on it too. Simple as that. Hugh McDonald and Gordon Smith will be joining us. Ruffy also will be with us, pending a check of his contract in case he's flying out to Barbados again. Let's look at some of the other ties. Here are the fixtures in the Scottish Cup, and there's a few other tasty ones we were discussing, of course. I think when you look down there, there's the romance of Bonnyrigg Rose against Hibernian is a cracker to look forward to, and of course I think a welcome break for St Mirren to get into the Cup against Dundee. Elsewhere in the Scottish Cup, You can see Kilmarnock against Hamilton is the all Premiership affair, and one that we're going to discuss very shortly as well. One we'll be featuring heavily on our programme, Morton against Falkirk as well. So let me take you back to Bonnyrigg Rose, Ruffy, against Hibernian. That really is the glamour.
Yeah, it certainly is. You know, as far as the juniors are concerned, that, I mean, Bonnyrigg will be empty tomorrow. There'll be nobody. Everybody from Bonnyrigg will be at that game. It'll be a fantastic atmosphere for the players, and I think if we remember, I think it was 2 or 3 years. I think it was Auchinleck went to play Hearts and hang on in there in the last 5 minutes or something like that. So they'll go along there. You'll always go along with expectations, but it depends, you know, eventually when the bigger teams score and then what you do after that. And it's either a runaway win or it's very tight until the end, but I think they'll be up against it.
Yeah, I'm delighted that they've been able to take it to Tynecastle, but of course, let's not forget, this is Hibs, the Scottish Cup holders. They'll be determined to try and hold on to the trophy for as long as possible. Wouldn't it be just like them to win it 2 years in the trot?
That's right. I should sort of go on a sort of run of winning 7 successive cups. The Bonnyrigg tomorrow, the thing about the great thing about this game is it's a sellout. You know, I was up at Bonnyrigg doing a bit of preview stuff, and the day the tickets came out, they actually had to open the ticket office an hour early because the queues were so large. I mean, this is a great junior town, you know, it's like old-fashioned junior town. Talking about John White played for them, Sean Connery, of course, played for them as well, 007. So it's a town really steeped in junior football, and it's a smashing tie. Yeah,
I'm so glad you mentioned John White there, Hugh, because for the older people, you rhyme off quality players. I mean, great players like that as well.
But what a man John White was, just to think back on him, and a guy that you would not have thought would have been suited to play in junior because he was almost wraith-like in his appearance, but what a wonderful player.
Yeah, okay. Talking about Hibs in the Scottish Cup, a quick question for you that you can answer hopefully before we get to the break. Can you remember the player who crossed the ball for David Gray to score the winning goal for Hibernian in last year's Scottish Cup final? We'll give you the answer next. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Sports Week here on STV. Coming up in the programme, we will be discussing, of course, tennis, the Australian Open. We'll be talking about a fabulous fight last night at the St Andrews Sporting Club, as well as looking ahead to the Six Nations Championship, but still looking over the Scottish Cup ties this weekend, dabble into the lower leagues in Scotland with fixtures from clubs who've already been knocked out of the tournament, and we may well take a look at the English Premier League too. So with that in mind, there are a few fixtures that I want to get your thoughts on. Is there a cup shock that's screaming out at you over the weekend, Hugh, first and foremost?
Not one that's screaming out at me, no. I think there's opportunities, you know, for certain clubs. I think Elgin have got an opportunity, for example, but not real sort of giant killer ones. No, I think you know, most of the games might just go to form. Okay, I'm going to throw one at you, Ruffy, and I'm amazed at this. I don't want to antagonise anybody, as I often do, you know, on a daily basis, but what a great chance for Raith Rovers to cause Hearts a few problems. And the reason I mention this is not any disrespect to Hearts, just basically because I think the manager's still finding his feet. Yes, and it'll be a torrid time up there. Again, that's when we all talk about Tynecastle being a tremendous stadium to go to, but Raith Rovers is a jam-packed. Raith Rovers is a fantastic atmosphere as well. The wee slope on the park adds a wee bit of spice to it as well. And also, obviously, Raith Rovers, the Hearts contingent up there. You know, there've been a lot of players went up there from Hearts, so obviously the manager's there as well, so that gives a wee added bite to it as well, and rightly so. Hearts haven't been as consistent with the new manager, so Raith Rovers will be hoping they could maybe turn a wee surprise. And before he retires, there's always the Rudy Scatchell element to this too, Hugh. Quite, there's always the Rudy Scatchell element to Adam, Peter. I just think you know, Raith Rovers are just not in strong enough. See if they were in the form they were this time last year under Ray McKinnon, I could see it. I'm sort of talking it down a bit, but I went back earlier and I said football's football. It's hard to predict, but I would still think Hearts would be strong tomorrow, too strong tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, he's made a couple of signings over the last 7 days, Ruffy, Ian Cathro. I think I'm going to be really interested in how his side takes shape in the summer more than anything else. I tipped him to finish second in the Premiership in Scotland, prior to Ian Cathro taking over. I think that might just slip away from them, but I don't think it'll be any... I don't think it'll be a major catastrophe. I think they're fairly level-headed at Tynecastle on the way ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it won't be major, but it'll be a blow because they've already been on record and saying that they want to improve year on year. And if that was the scenario that happens, it wouldn't be improving year on year. But they've appointed a new coach, so they need to hang on in there. They just need to put up with whatever happens today and give him a chance, next year to see what kind of player he's going to bring in, because already, like all the managers who've come in, Brendan Rodgers, the Rangers manager, they all have they all have a player in mind that they think can help their team, and it seems to be the same with Cathro as well. He's bringing in players that he has a mind of how he's going to play, and it's definitely not the players that he's moved on aren't going to fit into that. So it'll be interesting to see what other players he brings in.
Yep, okay. Wraith Rovers against Hearts on the Sunday. What about some of the other matches that I think are going to be very interesting indeed? Of course, Inverness Cally Thistle at Elgin City. Now, Richie Foran's been fairly open about the loss of the forum that they had when he was a player to him now becoming a manager. I think he's a wee bit too honest in his assessment.
I think that would be, if I had to pick one match, that would be the match. You've got one team in form, a bit of momentum, another team not. Okay, they're separated by a gulf in divisions, but most footballers that play the game tell me, and Ruffy will probably back this up, that confidence and momentum, are vital. So while I wouldn't be putting Ruffy's house or his other house or the house he's got apart from that, or his fourth house on it, I would certainly be thinking, there's a possibility of upset there.
Yeah, absolutely. Might put the flat on it. Other than that, just keep
or the yacht even, I don't know.
Ruffy, is it one of those games? Just before you give us your thoughts on it, they have actually made a signing, and it could be a useful one for Richie Foran. It's the former Motherwell, of course he was at Dundee United as well, Henri Anier.
I think I'm a bit different strikers as we have, so everyone's a bit different, so it's good for the manager to have different solutions in different games and situations to bring out the players he likes to. I think I bring some pace for the team, some attacking threat. I like to run behind, and so I think I bring some aggressive and attacking goal threat for the team.
Okay, so we now know what type of player he is. I always like those packages when you say just walk out and look out to
look at the sun,
look at the motorway there. There's no stand over that.
It was like Cantona surveying Manchester United,
and then come back in because it's freezing. As he's about to find out up there. But nevertheless, Ruffy, is there a shock there? Do you agree with you?
Well, it's the kind of game where you're playing with a Premier League side and you've drawn against a team like Elgin. You're under pressure. You're under pressure to win the game, and certainly going along there, we've already seen, the environment that you're going to be playing in, and everybody's looking, and everybody's predicting that this could be the shock. So it's up to the players to go out there and produce the goods. They certainly have players, that haven't fulfilled what we saw in the past. But Anier is a stylish striker that they haven't had since Billy Mackay. He leads the line. He's got a bit of pace. He's a poacher. For me, he doesn't score enough goals. But again, it's another person in the dressing room that could just lift the team.
Yep. Okay. Shock? No.
Not shock for me. No.
Not a shock for you. Okay. Simple enough. I think the game that I'm really looking forward to is Morton Falkirk as well, because Jim Duffy, fantastic. Peter Houston, tremendous experience. The two of them really likeable, experienced managers, and I think both of them, I can't believe someone at a higher level hasn't looked at them and thought.
Yeah, I mean, we know that Peter has been at international level as a number two, and he did very well at Dundee United as well. Yeah, I agree with you, but football's a funny old game when people get put into little boxes and don't seem to be able to get out of them. But if you look at it, I mean, in particular, the story, you know, in many ways outside of the top division, the story here is Duffy and Morton, you know. I mean, because they're playing good stuff. That's going to be a smashing game tomorrow. That's going to be a good attendance. Falkirk will take a few tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know, that's going to be a great attendance. It's going to be a lot of good football played there tomorrow. Both of them have got good players in their team. You know, that's a smashing game tomorrow.
Yeah, I like Morton as a club. I like the chairman and you know, and also in the background Warren Hawkes there. He's on our programme next week, incidentally. And the manager, just for me, oozes class, Ruffy. And when I've watched him on a couple of occasions this season, they've played good football. You know, he played it down earlier, saying, "I'm not sure we're, you know, playoff place," but they're there on merit.
You know, it's okay talking about Morton, and it's not until you actually see the team line, you know, that he has identified players, you know, good players, you know, whether whatever club they were at before, they've still got something to prove, and you can tell when we have any of the guys in here, or you hear any of them talking about Jim Duffy, he has that word respect. And I think that his training methods are fantastic. You know, everybody seems to enjoy themselves. And as Hugh said, you go down to Capello in a cup tie, you're going to know you're in a game, because when that place is jam-packed, it's maybe not as big as Tynecastle, but the atmosphere in there, it's a tight environment, you know, and you have to step up to the mark, you know, to get a win.
Yeah, well, elsewhere, Morton's great rival St Mirren are up at Dens Park. This is a game where I'm not so sure there's going to be pressure on St Mirren. Dundee can't afford to get knocked out by St Mirren, that's for certain.
Absolutely not, and Dundee will be looking at the competition to go deep, as they say. I think the St Mirren, in many ways, only subconsciously, might be glad to get out the Scottish Cup and really concentrating and bridging that gap at the bottom of the league. I mean, I won't be saying that, but I feel, I mean, a run in the Scottish Cup is not St Mirren's priority at the moment. What they've got to do, and they've got to do it quickly, and I don't think they will be able to do it, is to bridge the gap between them and the likes of Ayr United and Dumbarton. Yeah,
of course, and Paul Hartley's been busy getting Marcus Haber, not only signing him, but extending his deal to stay at Dens Park.
I know they're a good club with a lot of history, and the manager obviously is well respected, and you know, it's a very home-orientated club, and I think they've been fantastic with me and really helped me settle in right away, and I've been enjoying my football again, for sure.
Okay, fairly straightforward. Throw the ball up to him, he holds it in, brings the midfielders in.
Yeah, I have to say, I was at the Partick Thistle Dundee game. I have to say I wasn't impressed at all. I don't think he had a lot of movement, but just as you've said there, if he scores goals, he'll not be looking for movement up there. That's all they'll be looking for.
Yep, absolutely. Any shock in that one?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, Dundee for you?
Yep.
Okay, right, from the Scottish Cup we'll go into the Championship. There's not too many games to look forward to in the lower leagues because the Scottish Cup takes centre stage. We'll also be into the Premier League in England, and then it's tennis, then it's rugby to look forward to as well, and we'll throw in a wee bit of boxing as well. Join us after the break. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Sports Week. Alan Ruff is alongside me, Peter Martin, and on Friday our Bootroom guest is the Daily Mail's Hugh McDonald, and he's back with us on the Saturday as well by popular demand. So many people writing in and emailing, cousins, family members, the lot, just get our dad back on. He's brilliant. So we've been bowing to the pressure. We're going to talk tennis in a minute, which I know is dear to your heart and Ruffy's as well. But let's have a look at the fixtures on offer out with the Scottish Cup this weekend. There's just one match in the Championship. As you can see, it's Dumbarton against Queen of the South, which again still has some implications for some of the clubs involved in the Scottish Cup, because Dumbarton are starting to surprise people, much to the annoyance of St Mirren, Hugh.
Yeah, and Queen of the South as well, since Gary Naismith has gone there, have completely turned round.
Yeah.
He's turned. It's remarkable how quickly he's turned that season round. That's a good game tomorrow. It's a game where St Mirren fans and Dundee will be looking at that very closely.
Yep, and let's look at the other matches in the lower leagues. In League 2, it's Arbroath against Annan, Edinburgh City 4-4, and Montrose against Cowdenbeath. Actually got that out eventually. And down south in the Premier League, well, the one match that's screaming out there is Manchester City against Tottenham at 5:30. But if anything, the one thing that seems to be dogging the Premier League at the moment is just the temptation of money from China, Hugh. And, you know, if it's not petulant players, it's players who are tempted by that money from China and maybe going away. Although Antonio Conte says that Diego Costa says he wants to stay at Chelsea.
Yeah, but I mean, we've talked about this. I think we talked about it, you know, at the beginning of the season, that the big story of the year would be Chinese money. Remember, we're talking about the billions of pounds that China were going to pour into football. I mean, people are starting to criticise, you know, players for wanting to go, etc., etc. But they are human beings. And you think that somebody like Costa is in England because he always wanted to play in England? No. He's in England because of the money, so why shouldn't he be in Shanghai because of the money? And the money now, they're talking about 400,000, 500,000 a week for these players.
Yeah.
Extraordinary money.
Well, listen, top sportsmen can earn great money if they put in the hours behind the scenes, the training, the application. That couldn't be said of Dan Evans for a long period of time in his life, but suddenly I think the penny has dropped with him, or maybe more than a few pounds. He's into the fourth round.
It's an extraordinary story, Dan Evans' story, because Murray years ago was infuriated by him, you know, and the whole of British tennis was infuriated because he had the talent, and he would have little runs where everything seemed to go all right, and then he would lose focus and motivation. It's very funny that the guy he beat to go in to the fourth round was Bernard Tomic, who was looked upon as being, you know, the next big thing, and he's went off the rails. But Evans has been a marvellous story. He's, you know, turned his life around that way, and you know, he's a great wee guy. He's a great guy to talk to, a great guy to be with.
Could I ask you something that I hold my hands up, Ruffy, and I could not even offer an insight into it, but could Dan Evans maybe be feeling the effects of, or the influence of, Andy Murray, not only from the Davis Cup, but